Welcome to Mind Psychology Daily, where we explore the intricacies of the human mind and uncover the secrets to a happier, more fulfilling life. Today, we're going to tackle a topic that has the potential to make or break our relationships, the ego. But before we dive in, let's ask ourselves a question: what is the ego, really? Is it a vital part of our being, or is it a destructive force that we need to overcome? To help us answer this question, we're joined by the renowned psychologist Carl Jung, who has spent his career studying the human psyche and the role of the ego in our lives. Carl Jung is a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology. His work has had a profound impact on modern psychology, and his ideas continue to influence fields such as education, philosophy, and spirituality. So, let's start with the basics. What is the ego, and how does it affect our relationships? According to Carl Jung, the ego is the part of our psyche that is responsible for our sense of self and our individuality. It's the voice in our head that tells us who we are, what we want, and what we need. But when the ego gets out of control, it can lead to a sense of entitlement, arrogance, and a lack of empathy for others. In this video, we'll explore the ways in which the ego can destroy our relationships and what we can do to balance it. So, let's get started on this journey of self-discovery and explore the world of the ego. One of the most insightful stories that Carl Jung shares about the ego is that of a man who was so consumed by his own self-importance that he lost sight of the people around him. This man was a successful businessman who had built his career on his intelligence, charm, and charisma. But as he rose to the top of his field, he began to develop an inflated sense of self-worth. He started to believe that he was superior to others and that his needs and desires were more important than anyone else's. As a result, he began to treat those around him with disdain and disrespect. He would interrupt them, talk over them, and belittle their ideas. He became so arrogant that he started to alienate his friends, family, and colleagues. One day, he found himself alone, with no one to turn to. He had lost all of his meaningful relationships because of his overinflated ego. This story highlights the dangers of an unchecked ego. When we become too full of ourselves, we start to lose sight of what's truly important, our connections with others. As Carl Jung says, the ego is a veil between ourselves and the world. It's a barrier that prevents us from truly seeing and understanding others. But how can we recognize the signs of an overinflated ego? According to Carl Jung, one of the key indicators is a lack of empathy. When we're so focused on ourselves, we start to lose touch with the feelings and needs of others. We become insensitive, uncaring, and selfish. Another sign is an excessive need for validation and attention. When we're constantly seeking praise and admiration from others, it's a sign that our ego is out of balance. So, how does the ego apply to our lives today? In today's society, we're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us to promote ourselves, to brand ourselves, and to stand out from the crowd. We're encouraged to be confident, to be assertive, and to be self-assured. But when does confidence turn into arrogance? When does self-assurance turn into entitlement? According to Carl Jung, the key is to find a balance between our ego and our sense of humility. We need to recognize that we're not the center of the universe, that our needs and desires are not the only ones that matter. We need to cultivate empathy, compassion, and understanding for others. We need to learn to listen, to observe, and to appreciate the unique qualities and strengths of those around us. As Carl Jung says, the greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change their future by merely changing their attitude. By becoming more aware of our ego and its limitations, we can start to shift our attitude towards others. We can start to see them as equals, as friends, and as fellow human beings. We can start to build stronger, more meaningful relationships that are based on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. But how can we apply this in our daily lives? One practical way is to practice active listening. When we're in conversation with someone, we need to focus on what they're saying, rather than just waiting for our turn to speak. We need to ask open-ended questions, to seek clarification, and to show genuine interest in their thoughts and feelings. So, how can we transform our relationships by balancing our ego? One of the most powerful tools that Carl Jung recommends is self-reflection. We need to take the time to examine our own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. We need to ask ourselves questions like, what are my motivations? What are my values? What are my strengths and weaknesses? By gaining a deeper understanding of ourselves, we can start to see how our ego is impacting our relationships. We can start to recognize the patterns and habits that are holding us back. We can start to make changes, to adapt, and to grow. Another powerful tool is mindfulness. By being present in the moment, we can start to let go of our ego's need for control and validation. We can start to appreciate the beauty and simplicity of life, without feeling the need to constantly assert ourselves. We can start to connect with others on a deeper level, without feeling the need to compete or compare. As Carl Jung says, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. By acknowledging and accepting our own flaws and weaknesses, we can start to build stronger, more authentic relationships with others. We can start to create a sense of community, of belonging, and of connection that goes beyond our individual egos. In conclusion, the ego is a powerful force that can either make or break our relationships. By understanding the role of the ego in our lives, we can start to build stronger, more meaningful connections with others. We can start to cultivate empathy, compassion, and understanding. We can start to recognize the signs of an overinflated ego and take steps to balance it. If you want to learn more about the ego and how to balance it, be sure to subscribe to our channel, Mind Psychology Daily. We'll be exploring more topics related to psychology, relationships, and personal growth. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit the like button and share this video with someone who might benefit from it.